I have a gut, and my gut tells me more sometimes than anybody else's brain can ever tell me. That is a quote by the President of the United States. President Trump gave that quote to the Washington Post to justify ignoring experts in his own administration. This time, it's scientists. The president spent much of his week dismissing a report by his own government warning of devastating effects from unchecked climate change. The administration is drawing criticism after the fourth National Climate Assessment was released over Thanksgiving weekend instead of in early December as originally scheduled. Issued by 13 government agencies and mandated by Congress to be released every 4 years, the new report presents the starkest warnings yet of the consequences of climate change for the United States. Among the findings, and this is a serious big report, but among the findings, predictions in the 2014 report that coastal cities would see more flooding have come true. Nuisance flooding events in places like Miami and Charleston, South Carolina are hitting record numbers, threatening $1 trillion worth of coastal real estate. And that other costs between now and 2090 could reach above $500 billion just in climate change-related damages. In addition, the report found that across the country, temperatures could increase anywhere between 2.5 degrees to more than 8 degrees higher than they are today. 8 degrees. Think about that. That doesn't just increase the likelihood of heat waves, but it hurts crops and livestock that America relies upon to survive. And defense infrastructure is at risk. Each of these dots, take a look at that. Is there any way we can get closer to that? Look at that. Each of these dots represents a defense asset vulnerable to multiple effects of climate change, everything from drought to high winds, flooding, extreme temperatures, and wildfires. However, the United States military does take this seriously, unlike the President of the United States. In the last report, in 2014, it was the basis for new regulations put into place by the Obama administration, which took this seriously to help curb and mitigate the effects of climate change. The exact regulations President Trump campaigned against and has been systematically rolling back. Now, the new report warns if something is not done, we can expect more frequent and intense extreme weather and climate-related events. The president's response to these warnings is this.
Have you read the climate report yet?
I've seen it. I've read some of it, and it's fine.
They say economic impact would be devastating.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
You don't believe it?
No, I don't believe it.
I don't believe it. He doesn't believe it because his gut is better than other people's brains. Joining me is Brenda Equerzel. I'm sorry, Brenda. Brenda's a climate scientist with the Union of Concerned Scientists. She worked on the National Climate Assessment. I, for one, would like to thank you for your work. I don't trust my gut more than I trust other people's brains. It is larger than most people's brains, but it's not better. Brenda, in a recent 60 Minutes interview, the president said scientists have a political agenda in their climate change warning. So I want to get you on the record. What's your political agenda in this?
There's no politics. The science, this report is not policy prescriptive. It's looking at the findings and giving an assessment every 4 years. It's mandated by Congress. And what the report clearly shows is that climate change is not some distant future threat. It's happening everywhere in the United States, Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and U.S. residents are being forced to cope with dangerous heat waves, deadly wildfires, devastating hurricanes, extreme rainfall. And we know that these costs, these climate-related extreme events, will only get worse if we continue having unabated heat-trapping emissions.
Sarah Sanders recently said that this report, quote, is based on the most extreme scenario and that climate science is never exact. Tell me a bit about that. Do you recognize that it's inexact, and is this the most extreme scenario?
Just for the record, the National Climate Assessment assesses all the scenarios that are used in prior climate assessments, national and international. We use high emission scenarios, lower emission scenarios, and even lower than those emission scenarios. And that's what all the scientists are studying. They're well established, and so we show that we could avoid some of the high costs that are outlined in the report if we choose and embark upon as a world the lower emission scenario. We could shave the damage costs in the labor sector by nearly half. We could cut out the costs of extreme heat mortality by nearly 60% from the high emission scenario if we go to the low emission scenario.
So there is some nuance in this. I showed a chart from the section of your report earlier. I want to give folks a closer look at it. It's the potential economic damage by sector. You've really broken this out economically about the places in which this hurts in terms of labor, in terms of costs, in terms of GDP growth. But draw me a line between climate change and damage to these sectors, economic damage.
Sure, I think a lot of U.S. residents wouldn't be surprised at the one circle that's blue, the cost to coastal properties. Every year, the annual average cost towards the end of the century under the high emission scenario could be over $100 billion. However, it could be 22% lower if we did an even lower scenario for emissions. And therefore, it really makes a lot of sense to embark upon the Paris Climate Agreement goals, because we can really shave these damage costs, avoid them, especially if we add adaptation as well.
Brenda Querzel, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate that. Brenda Querzel is a climate scientist with the Union of Concerned Scientists. Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.